7 years, Manchester United had been very close to winning the championship, but we never had reached that point. And I was getting to an age when I was looking for a championship medal, and this ball, and I moved forward, and I can remember that all the other players of the opposing team seemed to go and mark our fellas, expecting me to pass. And I kept going, and I'd gone from just outside our own penalty area up towards the Stretford end, and I kept going, and nobody was coming to challenge me or get in my way. And I just got just outside the box, and I thought, well, I have to have a crack at it. And I'd moved the ball in such a position that I had to hit it with my left foot, and I hit it with my left foot, and it went right up in the top corner of the net, and that made us 2-up, and virtually assured me of the First Division Championship medal.
Yeah, I don't think I'm being cheeky, but you didn't score so many goals for United,
I didn't, no.
Even though you played in so many different positions.
Yes. Well, normally I played it right back.
Yes.
But I wasn't noted as a goal scorer.
No. Who scored the third goal? I think it was 3-0 the Chelsea game finished up.
The game was 3-0, yes.
Yeah, it finished up 3-0 there.
I can't remember who scored. I know we had a marvellous forward line in those days.
That's right. And then, of course, the Arsenal game came the following Saturday, really.
The Arsenal game following Saturday, and I think Arsenal would have had to win by about 7 goals to 0.
That's right. You won 6.
I don't think even the most optimistic Highbury supporter would have expected that. Not the way the teams were playing,
No.
but Arsenal were there at the time, and they were a very good side.
Yeah.
But in fact, we won 6-1.
That's right. Regarding the Arsenal.
I remember very clearly the Arsenal game when it was, I believe, the record crowd, 82,000 people. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. That was.
What was the feeling like playing in front of such huge crowds? I mean, you
well,
obviously knew
not
there was...
really. It didn't really matter. I
Did it
mean,
not?
I don't think the players can differentiate between 60,000 and 80,000.
No,
not
no,
really.
no.
But I did speak to a lot of football supporters afterwards, of course, and it seemed that they'd opened the gates for the people to get out because there was such a crowd, and there were people coming in on the turnstiles and people going out through the stands, so they were making room for them. Yeah. So there was 82,000 people, I think, paid.
That game finished up 1-1.
Yes.
Did you have any memories of that particular match?
No, I don't really. I don't really remember that as anything.
As you say, it was just that difference between 60 and 80,000. You didn't really notice
That's
it.
right.
Going back to that Chelsea game, obviously it must have been a great feeling, the Monday night lifting the title.
Yes.
Can you tell me what happened to you after the game?
Well, I don't think I had a car. Not sure if I don't think I had a car, and I know I walked home, and
where did you live in?
I live in Chorlton, and I walked home, and I can remember that when I went in, we had some young children, you see, and I can remember my wife. The first thing she said, she didn't ask for the result of the game. The first thing she said was, would I wash up these pots or something, because she was bathing the baby, you see. The child had got up, I think it was obviously about 10 o'clock or something at night. So
a couple of hours after actually lifting the league title, you were lifting the
I was washing up.
cups.
I was washing up, and I think that this was marvellous, absolutely marvellous. I thought to myself, well, if that's the way to bring a person down to earth, that was the right way to do it. And yes, it was wonderful. The players congratulated me, on scoring the goal, and then we went back. But the crowd was still on their feet, clapping and cheering and clapping and cheering. And the match was restarting. And it went on for a full minute after the game resumed, that the people were still cheering and clapping. And it wasn't necessarily my goal, which was a little bit of a shock both to me and to them. But
was this in the first or second?
It was the relief that it was
that they've actually won the title.
That they felt that.
Yeah. Was it in the first or second half? I've not checked the record.
It was in the first half, I believe.
So
I scored. Yes.
I think around that time, around the Easter as well, you had a lot of high-scoring games. I seem to remember you beat Burnley about 4.
Yes, we did. Yes,
Easter,
yes. Oh, yes. A very good match that was at Main Road.
That was Burnley.
Was it? No, not at Main Road. It would be
Yes, it would have, would it? No, of course it would be back at Old Trafford.
We were back at Old Trafford
back at Old
when this
Trafford.
happened, yes.
Yeah. Probably that's why you didn't actually lift the title all those years when you were runners-up. It must have been that City would let you go so far.
That's right,
but
yes.
Runners-up was far enough.
Yeah.
The cup was, of course, you won the cup in 48. Do you have any memories, particularly, obviously, the year that you won the cup? You played your own matches, if I'm right, away from home.
We did, yes. The only home match we had was the 6th round when we played Preston North End in Main Road. But I can always remember the first game was absolutely clear in my mind. I can see and remember every kick of the ball almost in the Aston Villa game. That was tremendous because we were 1 down after 13 seconds. Edwards scored. The bloke I should have been marking as well. And he cut in and he cracked the ball in after 13 seconds. And it seemed to galvanise Manchester United into action, and we really set about them, and we were 5-1 up at half-time. And I don't know, somebody said, we better get the champagne out. And I said, no, there's a long way to go yet. And actually, Villa got up to 5-4, and then we broke away about 5 or 6 minutes from the end, and Stan Pearson clinched it with the 6th goal and made it 6.
Something's always interested me about that era when United were actually playing at Main Road. To really a non-famous player, how did you react at playing your games at Main Road? Did you feel as though you were playing away, or did you adapt to the fact that you were...
Oh, no, I think we adapted to the fact that Main Road was a home match for us. Oh, yes. And I think it ought to be said that the players and the directors and the supporters of the club felt, a certain affinity with Manchester City. You know, people talk about the tremendous rivalry. Well, this is a good thing to have the rivalry between the different fans, but I think at heart the clubs are very close together, and they would help each other if they could, as much as they could. And we were always very grateful that Manchester City allowed us to play on their ground.
Obviously, Frank Swift's tragic death at Munich, Frank must have been quite a close friend of yours. So can you tell me about any of the other City players in that era, perhaps from, say, just after the war to about till the end of your United career around 1953? Was anyone in particular who stood out among the City team?
Oh, yes. I mean, I was a great friend of Frank Swift because we used to go around the country together on a panel. There was a journalist known as Capel Kirby, probably you remember him, and he got the idea of promoting the newspaper by having a team of Frank Swift and Jimmy Wilde, the boxer, and myself. We were the resident panel sort of thing. And then we'd get the manager of the club. If we went to Burnley, we'd get Frankie Hill or somebody who was manager of Burnley. And whichever place we went, we got the local hero, whether he might be a referee or something. And we sort of did, once a week, we had a little turn. Capel Kirby would get up and tell a few stories, and then Frank Swift, and myself, and then Jimmy Wilde. And, we got to be able to communicate with people.
When you played City in the Derby games,
yes.
Who had the home dressing room when United were at home?
Well, City would always have the home dressing room, whether they were home or away.
So you were turfed out when you were at home?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was, we understood that was all right.
Could you say that again? Yeah. Now, regarding your signing for United at the end of 1936, and obviously you were a player during the war years, when United, for example, played a heck of a lot of games during the war. Can you just give me memories of when you signed for United and perhaps some early memories of the war?
I was still at school in Dublin, and of course I was playing for St James's Gate, which is Guinness's brewery football team. And Louis Rocket, the chief scout of Manchester United, came over at the request of Billy Bean to have a look at a chap playing centre forward called Benny Cochran for Bohemians. And unfortunately for United, Benny Cochran signed for Glasgow Celtic. And Louis Rocker stayed on to watch the game on Sunday, St James's Gate versus Cork. And I played in this game, and I was 17 years old, and it was in November 1936. And he signed me after the game for £200, I don't know how the money came into it, because I was an amateur and I was still at school, but they donated £200 to the club, and very kindly the club gave me half of it. And I came over to Manchester in November 1936 when Scott Duncan was manager. They were in the First Division, and I joined them, and in November it was, and I got £4 10 a week, which was very good in those days, very good money.
We'll perhaps come back to the war years in a minute, but when you mentioned money there, Johnny, probably when you was in United's greatest years, you were probably earning between £10 and £14 a week.
I was, yes.
Yes. What do you think of the wages of today? I mean, obviously...
well, obviously, in some cases they got out of hand, and you know, there are not many clubs really can afford to pay the sort of wages that clubs are having. I think entertainers, you know, football is entertainment, and you know, when I played, of course, there was tremendous gates after the war and tremendous crowds, and there must have been a tremendous amount of money about, but it certainly didn't come to the players. But whatever they did with it, the clubs, most of them, of course, had to rebuild the grounds and do all sorts of other things.
Do you have any particular memories of United during the war years? Because obviously they played every season for 6 seasons.
Yes, well, I stayed in England, and I got married in 1940 here, and I wasn't called up immediately, so we had to get a job. You see, when the war broke out, all the contracts were null and void, so I had to get a job, and I got a job in the aircraft factory at Metrovix, and I was there for a couple of years, and during that time, of course, I was playing for Manchester United, and I can remember after there was a big bombing raid one night, and I was going on my bicycle to Metrovix the next morning, and I could see Old Trafford in flames. I could see the flames rising up as I was going along and cycling down to work to Trafford Park.
That's a bit March 1941 when the Blitz in Manchester. Of course, the ground was devastated. I think the United had a little bit of success around the wartime in that they did win.
It was regional football.
They won one cup, didn't they? And they also reached a final with Bolton, didn't they? A two-legged final.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, we were working 12 hours a day, and the management very kindly let me off on Saturday afternoon. I had to go in and work on Saturday mornings, and they let me off at 12 o'clock on Saturday afternoon to play football. I can remember that I never saw daylight from one weekend to the next. Like, it'd be next Saturday before I'd see any daylight.
Do you remember?
Because we were inside this factory, and you know, we had a canteen in there, and we never came out.
Do you remember any of the special guest players who played in that?
Oh, yes.
Did Joe Mercer, for example, play for United?
I can't exactly say now. You know, the memories were very obscure of this. The football wasn't predominant, you see. It was the war was the most important thing, and what was happening, and how you were escaping and getting in your shelter or going. I used to go with Freddie Tilson, who was centre forward for Manchester City, and we were fire watching up at Russian Public Library. We had to go there once a week, you see, and sleep there, and if there was an alarm, we had to get out and have a look for any incendiary bombs that might fall. So, I have plenty of memories of wartime football, but not detailed memories. I can remember Jock Dodds playing.
That's right, the Blackpool.
Yeah, the Blackpool centre forward.
I know Harry Catterick did.
Yes.
Who went to Everton, became a famous Everton manager. I know Harry scored a lot of goals for United. And one name that interests me actually is a chap called Jack Smith. He was a centre forward, and he always scored a lot of goals. Yeah, he went to Blackburn Rovers.
I knew Jack Smith very well. Very well. He was Geordie, you know. He came from Newcastle.
And he went to Blackburn, I think, after.
That's right. Yes. Oh yes.